Hitting down with your iron clubs is an essential part of striking the ball more consistently, and yet if you've been trying to do that but find that your ball striking is still painfully below par, you'll probably find you're making the same mistake I see hundreds of golfers making when it comes to truly understanding how to hit down and through the ball like the best players. So today I'm going to take you from the top of the backswing through the downswing and into the follow through using one simple effortless drill that I shared with this golfer to help him improve his swing mechanics and ball striking in record time. So we should understand by now that when the ball is on the ground, we want to hit down on it, whether that's with a wedge, an iron, or our longer fairway clubs like a hybrid or a fairway wood. But sometimes that instruction of hitting down can get misconstrued or misrepresented, and in a player's head, if they overdo that piece, they can get themselves into trouble, and that's certainly what I see. Let me go through that with you on the mat here. Let's talk about what I really want you to understand today, that from the top of the backswing, the downswing does start with very much a down move. The hands and arms are moving down. Even my chest and body is starting to move down towards the ball. But it needs to stop at some point. This downswing doesn't just keep going down, 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 because if it does, what you'll find is that you'll be susceptible to losing any space to swing into and having to flex your arms and wrists through the ball just to make contact. And that makes you prone to thinning and topping and losing a lot of power and distance. So you're trying the right thing. You're trying to hit the ball first and the ground second. You're trying to hit down. But in trying to do so, you're missing out on some of the power pieces that need to occur in the second half of the downswing. So let me show you what they are. So we have a down part to the downswing. But as the hands and arms reach this position here, we know this is position 6 or P6, where the club's parallel to the ground, the hands are already in their lowest point, meaning that even before the club reaches the ball, the hands start to move up into the follow through. There's a leaning towards the target of the shaft, but there's also an upward movement of the hands through impact. So even though the club's moving down, the hands are moving up. That can be slightly counterintuitive to a lot of golfers, but it's the real key as to why so many of you struggle to transfer the concept of hitting down into better ball striking. You actually end up trying to hit down for too long. Your body stays flexed over, you lose any athleticism or speed that you might want to have through the ball, and you sacrifice both contact and distance in doing so. So what should you be looking for in terms of a movement pattern that can take you from the top of the backswing all the way through to the follow through without stopping or thinking about it too much? Well, I've got a great drill for you. I shared it with a student of mine this week, made tremendous impact into the swing mechanics and ball striking in a very short space of time. Let me share that with you right now. So to train the basic principle of this upward movement in the follow through, which I think, as I say, is counterintuitive for a lot of golfers. They don't want to swing up because they're scared they're going to miss the ball. But in terms of training this from the ground, what we started out with was a normal setup, a little bit more weight on the lead side, which is always a preference of mine, and this shaft lean that we have built in at setup. I cover all of the aspects of setup and swing in my tour quality ball striking video series. I'll leave a link to that in the description. But for now, we just worked on moving the club from setup into the follow through by rolling the ball into the screen. So no backswing at all, and just pushing the golf ball into the screen in front of us here. And that helped him to understand how the momentum and the movement of the hands and arms had to initially be very much up. He couldn't just keep pushing this club down and further into the ground. There had to be an upward component to this movement. So when you start out with the club on the ground and the ball set up as per usual, with no backswing, just moving this ball and into the screen, just rolling it along the ground, requires a certain upward movement that is necessary and also visible in all great golf swings. And then he said something to me which I think could help you as a feel. He said it feels like an uppercut that you might do in a boxing move. So having the trail side go under and then up in this motion here. And I thought that was a really nice, succinct description of what's going on. So I thought about that this week, and I've tried it with a few other students, and it works tremendously well. And I even have this drill that I would now share with you to work through those thoughts so that you can apply this both in your practice and then take it with you onto the golf course. So the way that I'd want you to think about this is that from the top of the backswing, we have two movements that get us from here to the end of the swing. The first one, we're going to use the word down. So clenching my fist as if I was going to make a punching motion, I want you to feel like you're actually going to punch the ball or the ground and move forward like this. So the down movement takes you from the top of the swing and gets you just prior to impact, where the hand and arm are at that lowest position I talked about earlier. So the first movement is to initiate and think about moving and punching the ball that's on the ground, punching it into the ground, driving it into the turf. But as you're reaching this lowest point here, and you'll feel that your arm reaches that point where gravity's pulled upon it the most, it's at its most lowest hanging position, you then want to transfer very quickly but very certainly into an upward movement. So that movement from a down becomes very much an up in the second half of the motion. And you can see there that as I do that without stopping, it's starting to look like a golf swing. Now, I need to caveat that with one critical piece, and this is vital that you don't miss this part. You must do this with your weight primarily forwards. You cannot extend up away from the ground correctly. You cannot do the uppercut punch motion. You can't do that successfully if your weight is either centered or on your back foot. Because if you did that with a club, you'd actually miss the ball. So it's very important as you practice this, and you can stand up and try this if you're at home right now. You can stand up and just do this exercise. Take your golf posture, make a backswing with just your trail arm only. And there's a lot of value to doing just trail arm only swings as well, just training some good trail shoulder and trail arm mechanics. So that's a nice place to start from. Complete your backswing, just stop at the top, clench your fist if you want to, then think about driving that ball down and forwards. That's the motion where my weight, my knee, my hip, my pelvis moves forward. I move down on top of the ball. It's like the crushing the can motion, which I've made videos on previously. That down and forward motion. So I feel like I'm going to drive the ball into the ground, almost push it into the ground. But as I'm reaching this lowest point here, I'm getting a sense of my hands and arms getting to that lowest point. I'm going to change and turn that very quickly into an upward movement, finishing with all of my weight on my front and the sensation that I've punched up, made this uppercut movement that helps to get my trail shoulder lower than my lead shoulder. That's the tilt we want. It's also helped me to extend correctly through the ball. So I've pushed my hips forward and my chest has gone up. And that's in stark contrast to someone who would swing through the ball, keeping their body bent over and having to flex their hands and arms in the process. So that practice drill right there, the down to up punch, is something I want you to try both away from the golf course, just as an exercise, and then think about that concept next time you swing. And so the final part of this act would be to learn to make this movement with the club and actually hit the ball. And the way that I would tell you to think about this would be two main pieces. Number one, make sure your weight is far enough forward. I've already said that. I cannot emphasize enough the number of times people fail at this task because they do not have their weight far enough forward when they do this exercise. I'm going to make sure that you do that with a particular setup piece I'm going to give to you in just a second. And the second part of this, which is critical, and it's very subjective, it's individual, is at what point in the downswing do you stop thinking about the down and start thinking about the up? That's going to be slightly different for all of you, but let me share this with you. In my experience, most people start thinking about the up piece too late. So with that in mind, I'm going to tell you to try the exercise like this. Take your setup. Favor more weight into your lead side if you're not already. You really should be. And for the purpose of this exercise, I would tell you to go really heavy onto that lead side. 70 or 80% at setup is absolutely fine. And then the second part of that equation I was mentioning was that where do you start to think about going from down to going up? We know the actual part of the swing where that happens. It's very clearly where the club's parallel to the ground here. That's the factual, actual point at which you want to change direction. But for a lot of you, you'll need to start thinking about changing direction before this point because the swing's happening so quickly. If you wait until you feel the club is in this spot, it's probably too late for you to make a change in your motion. So experiment with starting to feel like you go back up at different points in time in the downswing. As I say, it's very subjective. It's quite an individual piece. Some of you will almost need to feel like you start the uppercut motion as soon as you start the downswing. That's absolutely fine. I've seen people do very well with that feeling. I'm not saying that's exactly when it does happen in the swing, but this is the subjective, individual part that you need to try and play around with. But I know that if you give this a try, without any shadow of a doubt, you'll add a level of consistency and quality to your ball striking that you probably have never experienced before. And the other added benefit of this pushing up motion is it helps you to swing faster. So it adds club head speed at the same time. So you're going to strike the ball more consistently with more club speed. You're certainly going to hit better golf shots. It's interesting to me how solid that felt. TrackMan didn't quite pick it up, which is a shame. I'm going to pull that up on the screen in just a second. The quality of the strike there felt fabulous, while the amount of effort felt very low. It was effortless because I timed the down into the up pretty much perfectly. So that's a very simple way for you to think about how to move from the top of your backswing through the downswing and into the follow through. And whilst I've focused heavily in this video on how you do this from the ground, I think it's fair to say, and it's true to say, that this motion is extremely valuable with the driver as well. In fact, the reason you don't hit the ground with the driver is because that up motion starts even sooner. I worked with this player on the driver in the same lesson, and you'll see here how the follow-through mechanics also started to look very much like the best players look through the ball. If you want to achieve better ball striking, higher ball flights, longer distance, learning to move from the down to the up in the downswing and into the follow through is truly the master move in golf. If you'd like to learn more about how to develop tour quality ball striking, I'd encourage you to check out my video course, which takes you step by step from setup through the backswing, downswing and follow through with drills to help you along the way. This truly is the most comprehensive, systematic approach to building a better swing. If you'd like to learn more about this, there'll be a link in the description below. And if you enjoyed the video today, I would absolutely love you to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you're not already. A great video for you to check out next would be this one right here. This is the Crush the Can video. I referenced it in today's video. It talks about that first movement in the downswing, that first downward movement that we talked about today. If you want to develop better ball striking, you have to get this part of the swing correct.